If you even cared, you'd actually be here.
Now we finally have a much clearer idea of what Marvel is trying to do with Spider-Man Brand New Day, and it sounds like the studio is taking Tom Holland's version of Peter Parker in a very different direction. For years, fans have debated whether the MCU's Spider-Man really captured the heart of the character from the comics. While many people loved Holland's performances and the stories he appeared in, there was always a group of fans who felt that something important was missing. Based on recent comments from Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige, it seems the studio is fully aware of those discussions and is now making a deliberate effort to bring Spider-Man back to his roots. Speaking with Empire, Feige explained that Brand New Day will be the first MCU Spider-Man movie that truly focuses on the classic elements of the character. According to him, audiences will finally see Peter Parker living the kind of life comic readers have known for decades. Instead of operating with access to billionaire resources, advanced technology, and powerful allies, Peter will be living in a small apartment, listening to police scanners, and heading out into New York City to help people simply because it is the right thing to do. That description alone feels like a huge shift from what we've seen throughout much of Holland's Spider-Man journey. It makes a lot of sense because the ending of Spider-Man No Way Home practically set the stage for exactly this kind of story. By the time that film ended, Doctor Strange's spell had erased Peter Parker from everyone's memory. His friends no longer knew him, the Avengers had no connection to him anymore, and all the support systems he once relied on were gone. Peter was left completely alone. It was heartbreaking, but it also created the perfect opportunity to rebuild the character from the ground up. Director Destin Daniel Cretton expanded on that idea and revealed that Peter's emotional state will be a major focus of the movie. According to him, Peter has thrown himself entirely into being Spider-Man. Instead of dealing with his pain in a healthy way, he's dedicating every part of his life to the job. That's a very human reaction to loss because a lot of people cope with grief by burying themselves in work. Peter has lost Aunt May, lost MJ, lost Ned, and lost the life he once knew. So rather than trying to move forward emotionally, he seems determined to focus only on being Spider-Man. That approach makes Brand New Day sound much more personal than many recent Marvel films. Producer Amy Pascal even described it as a movie whose scale comes from emotion rather than world-ending threats. That's a pretty interesting statement because superhero movies today often revolve around massive battles, alternate realities, and universe-shattering stakes. But Spider-Man has always worked best when the audience connects with Peter Parker's everyday struggles. The rent is due, school is difficult, relationships are complicated, life keeps throwing problems at him from every direction. Those challenges are just as important to the character as fighting villains. For a long time, one of the biggest criticisms aimed at the MCU version of Spider-Man was that he felt very different from the Peter Parker found in the comics. Unlike previous versions portrayed by Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, Holland's Peter didn't really experience some of the defining moments that shaped the character. Uncle Ben's death happened off-screen and was barely mentioned. Peter wasn't particularly isolated at school, and perhaps most notably, he had Tony Stark acting as a mentor. That relationship created some fantastic emotional moments, especially in films like Spider-Man Homecoming and Avengers Endgame. But it also changed the dynamic of the character. Instead of being the neighborhood hero who built his own equipment and struggled to get by, Peter often had access to technology that most superheroes could only dream about. Some fans loved that modernized take, while others felt it moved too far away from Spider-Man's traditional identity. Because of that, Feige's comments are particularly important. Marvel executives rarely address fan criticisms directly, but his statement about Brand New Day being the first MCU Spider-Man film focused on classic Spider-Man elements feels like a clear acknowledgement of those concerns. He may not have outright said previous films were missing something, but his comments strongly suggest the studio understands why so many fans want a more comic-accurate version of Peter Parker. The timing also feels right. Holland has been playing Spider-Man for over a decade now, so audiences have already experienced the younger, more connected MCU version of the character. Returning to the basics doesn't feel repetitive because enough time has passed. Instead, it feels like a natural evolution. Peter has lost everything, so now he has to rediscover who he is without all the support that once surrounded him. Even small details reinforce that idea. The trailers have already shown Peter wearing a much more traditional red and blue suit. More importantly, it appears to be a suit he created himself rather than something designed by Stark Industries. That might seem like a small detail, but it represents a huge part of Spider-Man's identity. Peter Parker has always been resourceful. He solves problems through intelligence, determination, and creativity rather than unlimited resources. That's why many fans are starting to believe Brand New Day could become the most comic-accurate Spider-Man movie ever made. It appears to combine the classic struggles of Peter Parker with the advantages of being part of a larger Marvel universe. Previous Spider-Man franchises captured the personal side of the character extremely well, but they couldn't fully explore his connections to other Marvel heroes because of rights limitations. Now, Marvel has the opportunity to do both. One of the most exciting examples of that is the arrival of Frank Castle, better known as the Punisher. New images from the film have shown Jon Bernthal's Punisher fighting alongside Spider-Man during an action sequence, and that pairing immediately grabbed fans' attention. Seeing Peter Parker running through danger while Frank Castle fires an assault rifle nearby is not something many people expected to see in a Spider-Man movie. The inclusion of the Punisher is fascinating because he represents almost everything Spider-Man opposes. Peter believes in responsibility, second chances, and protecting innocent people. Frank Castle believes criminals deserve permanent punishment. Their methods could not be more different. Because of that contrast, their interactions might end up becoming one of the strongest parts of the film. Tom Holland recently addressed concerns about how the Punisher would fit into a PG-13 Spider-Man movie. Many fans wondered whether the character would need to be toned down significantly. Holland acknowledged those concerns, but insisted that the version audiences will see still feels authentic to Frank Castle. He also hinted that the filmmakers found clever ways to preserve the character's personality without crossing into R-rated territory. That should be reassuring, because Jon Bernthal's portrayal has become one of Marvel's most beloved performances. Fans appreciate how intense, damaged, and uncompromising his version of Frank Castle feels. And that is exactly why excitement for the movie keeps growing. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.